Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast. In today's special episode, we are going to share some great tools and software available to Amazon sellers. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know you can get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics? Now it is time to show us what you got with your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, Rob Stanley here with another Show Us What You Got episode. And of course, I got to bring into the studio Lisa Kinski. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rob. We got to get that intro changed, man.
I'm waiting on Lisa for the new intro.
I know. Well, it's hard to work on those when you're at shows talking all sorts of amazing sellers and partners, and it's not really
Absolutely. Yeah, Lisa and I have been on the road, and I'm going on like a 4+ week road trip here quickly, but hey, Lisa, we got a good one. Let's jump right into this. So we're going to bring in the studio in just a second, Chelsea Cohen from SoStocked. We're going to talk about inventory-minded marketing to avoid stockouts. And I think she just mentioned there was a change that just happened, I think either today or in the last few days. Let's get Chelsea into the studio here. Hey, Chelsea.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you on finally. We did take a little while to coordinate schedules, and that's mostly on my end. So yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit today about inventory-minded marketing to avoid stockouts. Tell us, first of all, you said there was a bit of a change that just happened recently, and then also give everybody a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be demoing today with SoStocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yesterday, a bunch of people noticed that their restock limits decreased significantly. So Amazon has officially brought back restock limits, which I'm actually surprised about. I was one of those people saying, be careful, they're going to come back, at the beginning of the year. But knowing that they've expanded so much warehousing space, I didn't think that they were actually, I started reversing that and saying, you know what, I don't think it's going to happen. They started doing buy with Prime, which is basically trying to encourage people who don't even sell on Amazon to use Amazon Prime fulfillment. And so that was kind of a symbol to me that they wouldn't be bringing restock limits back, but now they've opened up their new warehousing program right on the same time that they're bringing restock limits back. So go figure,
Yeah. That's so Chelsea, here's a quick question. Not that you work at Amazon or anything, but we've heard that a lot of these new warehouses they were either buying or purchasing or building kind of got put on hold also because, there was that whole need to expand. They needed more warehouse, but then things slowed down in the economy and it seems like they kind of put a halt on that. Do you think that could affect things going forward? Let's say for Q4 with available space as far as warehouse space to put inventory in?
What they're doing now kind of points to that, but I do believe they could be using partnerships with other warehouses. A friend of mine was talking to me about this in November, and he was participating in some sort of a pilot with them. So this new Amazon is called AWD, Amazon Warehouse and Distribution. This new service may be in partnership with independent warehouses as well. And they have overexpanded. I'm just curious as to why they would be making these moves. So it is, it is possible, but I don't know if it's because they're trying to gain more of the market, Shopify customers and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So why don't you give everybody a quick, what are we going to be seeing from your demo today? And then we'll jump right into it.
Sure. We're going to jump into the SoStocked system, and I'm going to be walking through with a real leaning towards what I call inventory-minded marketing. And it's actually a topic that's more topical now that we have this new restock limits issue that's come up. Inventory-minded marketing is all about how to get your marketing team and your inventory team to work together so that you can avoid stockouts and overstocking as well, which of course leads to getting your products barred from being able to get them into Amazon just like, feels like deja vu. But it also helps you to be more profitable because it reduces your holding costs.
Very nice. All right. You know what time it is. It's time to show us what you got, Chelsea.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump in here. So we always start at the forecasting page. The forecasting is the basis for everything, and really sales velocity is the basis for everything. So it's important to understand sales velocity properly and to make sure that you've got it set correctly. So we're going to jump in and talk about a couple of different things here. Now, when we're talking about sales velocity, some people think, well, I'm pulling the data from Amazon, so isn't my sales velocity automatically correct? The answer is no. The short answer is no. First and foremost, you need to know what data you're looking at. We use an average. We're using an average. So in this case, it's a 30, 60, 90-day average. And you can also, if you're launching a new product, you can, plug in a manual velocity, or you can look at last year's sales. And last year's sales would be helpful if you're trying to project, let's say, for Christmas. And all of these numbers are being pulled directly from Amazon. This is last year's sales every single day of last year, what you did in sales. Where the data gets thrown off and where some systems, we've actually seen some systems that get these numbers wrong, get the averages wrong, or get the projections wrong. The place that happens is if you'll see right here, there's an asterisk next to each one of these days. That indicates a stock out. And if you're not calculating that stock out and averaging that stock out, you can see we're averaging that stock out. What would you have sold if you hadn't stocked out? So you need to make sure that whatever system you're using, you're including stock outs and then also sales spikes. We had I believe it was 2020, we had Prime Day in October. And the next year, we did not have that. We want to remove that Prime Day from our calculation so that we don't overorder. So not removing sales spikes causes you to overorder. Not removing stock outs causes you to underorder. So you need to be sure that you're getting your velocity right, first and foremost, because everything is based on that number. When we get our order, when we're placing our orders, it's because it's based on the fact that we have looked at our calculations and we've gotten that number correct. And we call that daily adjusted velocity. So once you have your daily adjusted velocity, you need to figure out how often you're going to order, right? So you have your order schedule, you have your transfer schedule, and then you have all of these additional tools. When you're figuring out what your sales are going to be, you need to factor every sale into your equation. So for example, if you have a lightning deal coming up, we also have the second Prime Day. We've got a second Prime Day coming up in sometime in October. They're hinting at it. So the second Prime Day should be something that you plan for. So when you're doing your calculations and when you're figuring out the inventory to transfer, you should be plugging in those particular sales events, right? So let's say we get our additional Prime Day in there, and we're going to sell us an extra 1,000 units, for example. If you're not planning for this, then you could create an event where you're not shipping your inventory in quickly enough. So it's important to plan these things out. It's important to make sure that all of your inventory is where it needs to be when it needs to be there. But it's especially important with this new restock limit announcement, because with this second Prime Day in October, it can help you to bolster your restock limits, because it's based on, they're doing 4 months now, based on 4 months and based on some of the future lightning deals that you have and some other factors. But you want to use September and October to really rev up your sales so that by November and December, in the big sales period, you are actually you're actually able to stay in stock because your restock limits will allow that. It's so crazy that we're still talking about restock limits again. So that's kind of the basis of everything. There's sales velocity, right? Once you calculate your sales velocity, you get your marketing plans in there. You have to figure out what your reorder point is, or your transfer point, because you have two things going on. You have orders and you have transfers. So you need to know what is the date at which I need to do that. And as your sales velocity changes, that's going to change. So it's nice to have a system that can be flexible with that. But once you figure out what your sales velocity is, you can more easily figure out the reorder point. And the reorder point is found by having a couple of different factors. One is your lead time, and one is your buffer stock. So you would plug in your lead time. Let's say for the transfer schedule, your lead time is, let's say for the transfer schedule, your lead time is 10 days. Of course, as we get closer to the holidays, we want to increase that because Amazon is not good at getting our stuff in during the holidays. So you can update the transfer time and you can increase that. And then the other side of things that you want to be adding is your buffer stock. Your buffer stock is, most people know this by now, but your buffer stock is the extra inventory that you're always going to keep at Amazon. And you always want to keep your inventory stocked at Amazon. I would say no lower than 30, but try to keep it at 45 days worth of inventory. And that will help you to keep your sales, your inventory dispersed across the country so that your sales don't slow down in various different parts of the country. So you have your buffer stock and you have your lead time. And let's say your buffer stock is 30 days. Your lead time is, let's say your transfer time is 15 days. You know that you have to transfer 45 days before you run out of stock. So that is your reorder point. So you can look at today's date and then extend it out to 45 days. And you know that is when you have to order 45 days worth of sales. So that helps you to find your reorder point. So those are some of the things that will help you to factor out how to stay in stock. And so
Chelsea,
yeah.
Quick question. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to figure out like how much of this data is being pulled in from my Amazon account versus how much of this am I manually putting in? Sure. Because I've noticed, obviously something like your software is not going to know how long my factory takes to make my item. It may have an estimate on how, or I'll have to have an estimate on how long on the water and things like that. So just kind of help people out on, what kind of data is being pulled in versus what kind of data do I need to manually put in?
Sure. So when you first set up your account, it's going to pull in your sales history. We pull in 2 years worth of sales history. So we can see your inventory levels. We can see your sales velocity. We can pull in your warehouse addresses and your suppliers if you ever shipped from there. So if you put it into Amazon, we can pull that data. We obviously can't pull your marketing data because that's stuff that you have to let us know about. We can't pull your lead time. So you would just go in and assign a lead time to every supplier. And then you can assign a transfer time for your warehouses. So the data that we can't pull from Amazon is what you would have to come in here and put. You could, your buffer stocks. So you would set that up, and we have one-on-one appointments that you can make with our onboarding specialists who can help you with setting that up. We even have someone who will do the data entry for you if you have data on spreadsheets or from exported from a different software. We can help take that data and help to get it into the system for you. And that's the setup process. And then after that, most of the tweaking is in the marketing side of things.
And how often do you recommend that users come in and kind of either audit this to be sure that everything is up to date or make any tweaks? Is it just whenever there's action on their end, like if a lead time greatly increases or decreases, or if they have a new deal to add?
Yeah, we usually say, come in once a week at least and check it out. We do have alerts. So if you're going to stock out, you have alerts available. Some people, if their business is slower, up to a month maybe, but it just depends on the pace of your business. We know some people who come in here on a daily basis.
Gotcha. And for those stock out warning alerts, are they able to set the units in which that triggers for them? Like a business that sells out more quickly will need it sooner than one that doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that would be, we look at the buffer stock. And so if you've set a buffer stock and you have your lead time in there, we're going to trigger that before that time. So that reorder point. So it's not that we're giving you alerts right before you run out. We're giving you alerts that, if you set, for example, a weekly alert, every week we're going to look at the orders that you need to place for that week. So you'll get that alert at the time when you need to place the order so that you don't run out of stock. So it's before you even start tapping into your buffer stock, before you hit, that lead time, that reorder point.
Perfect.
Chelsea, what about when somebody's either just getting going on Amazon, or let's say new products coming in? This may not be exactly related, but what do you kind of see as what their initial purchase should be of quantity? Should they be, they're trying to estimate, okay, I might sell about this many in a month. Should they carry like a couple months worth of inventory to get started, like 2 or 3 months? I've heard 2, but then I've heard other people say 3. What's your kind of thought process on that?
Some of it has to do with the lead time. So if you have a longer lead time, then, I would say thinking about a longer amount of stock. So if you have, like for some people, I don't know if any wholesalers watch this, but wholesalers have a very short lead time. So, and I know some people who are private label who source in the US, and they have I know someone who has a, 1-day production turnaround time. Some people who have a 1-week turnaround time. So it just really depends. I would not recommend, if you have a short lead time like that, for you to have much more than, let's say, a month's worth of inventory, in addition to the buffer stock, right? You definitely need 30 to 45 days worth of inventory at Amazon at all times. Otherwise, it affects your sales velocity. So I would say 2 months is the lowest amount, but 3 months actually probably would be safer, just because then you could eat through that 2 months, notice that you are running out of stock, place that reorder before you start chewing into your buffer stock.
Yeah, and somebody new probably is going to learn about that new product, because I'm kind of thinking to myself, if it's a little bit more expensive product, it may not quite sell as fast.
Yeah.
So in that case, maybe you have that 2 month or 2.5 months of inventory, versus something that if you're trying to launch this product, you're really you're going low on the price to really accelerate this. You might want to have a little bit more stock on hand for the first initial order or launch.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, this is good. Let's keep going. Thank you.
Yeah. So that actually brings us, because I don't want to do like we have demos that we do. So I don't want to do like a whole demo of every single aspect, but to kind of steer it back to inventory minded marketing and really kind of get into the subject of stocking out. There are things that you can do to prevent stockouts. And one of the things that should be being done is that the inventory team actually needs to be proactive at giving data to the marketing team, because one of the top ways that people run out of stock is that they market themselves into a stockout. That's a pretty prominent thing. I actually onboarded myself when we were first starting SoStocked. I onboarded everyone who came into the software for the first 1.5 years personally. And I would ask people, sellers, we're talking about even 8-figure sellers. So this is not just like a beginner problem, but 8-figure sellers, PPC managers, asking them, have you ever stocked out your client, or, why did you stock yourself out? And it was because they had marketed themselves into a stock out. They ran an aggressive PPC campaign, or they ran a coupon to their list, something like that, and didn't really see how it was going to affect, didn't vet out against the inventory. So we recommend to put together reports. We call it the Stockout Risk Report. And the Stockout Risk Report is basically a report that filters to look for potential days of stock out, right? If I have a product that has a potential days of stock out, I want to see if I can avoid that. So I can see that these products are going to stock out in October if I don't do anything about it. But I have some inventory that I could send in. I could potentially avoid the stock out because this is a 5-day stock out and this is a 3-day stock out. So if I tell the marketing team that this is going to happen, they can maybe back off on some of the more aggressive, less profitable campaigns, and you'd be making more money per unit and also avoid that stock out. So this report can be really valuable, and not just avoiding stock outs, which of course now is more important than ever based on the fact that restock limits is coming back, but it also makes you more profitable because you're backing off of the ads that are reducing that profit per unit.
And Chelsea, what about when it comes to being stocked out? Do they have to log in to get this information, or is there a way to trigger an email to them that, hey, when it gets to a certain point, let me know? So how do the alerts sort of work?
Yeah, so there are alerts. We have the notification settings, and the alerts are going to tell you when you need to place those orders. So you can set it to, this one's set to never because this is our demo account, but you can set it to daily, weekly, or monthly. And then let's say we set it to weekly, and we always do our inventory on Tuesdays, for example. We're always going to get an email on Tuesday that says, here's what you need to do within this week. And it's going to look forward at everything that is coming due within that week before your next week's worth of tasks. And so it's going to tell you which products need to be ordered within that week. And then similarly for monthly, it's going to look forward for that entire month, so you don't miss anything.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we talked about stockouts, and stockouts is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to inventory-minded marketing. Part of inventory-minded marketing, we talked about it a little bit, is that the marketing team has to give their marketing plans to the inventory team. Then the inventory team plugs those plans in to make sure that they have enough inventory to actually execute on those sales plans. Beyond that, it's important for the inventory team to not only give a stockout risk report, but also to strategically help to clear out old inventory. To now that restock limits are back, to help to improve restock limits and make room for the best sellers, but also to increase profitability, because Amazon's just been killing us with fees. They've completely changed their fee structure and some of their stuff. They have, I think Marketplace Pulse actually did a report between 2020 and now, they've increased their fulfillment fees by 30%. So they've just, and that's not even getting into like the dimensional weight fees that they've been stacking on as well. So it's important to look at a couple of different factors. One of them is slow sellers. So this would be anything under, let's say you pick a range, right? You say anything, anything between, let's say, over 20 and under under 5. And so there's 2 different reports. They seem kind of similar. Oh, and nothing showed up for that. Okay. Well, so there's 2 different things. Let's see, 102.
Man, you're making people do work having to remember the less than, greater than symbols.
I know. Anyway,
When's the last time you saw that, Lisa?
It's been a hot minute. I was just looking at them. I was like, wait a second, is that right?
You need to put the words less than and greater than next to those symbols.
Yeah.
Help some people out.
That's a good point. So essentially what the slow seller report should be is a range, right? And that range would be, let's say, my slow sellers are anything selling between 5 and 20 units a day. We're not going completely to the low end and saying these are the worst products, they're complete duds, but these are products that are at danger of being those dud products. These, you need to either improve the sales, or they're going to be some of those products that drag you down, especially again with restock limits. So that's a signal to the marketing team that they actually need to come up with a plan to market this, whether it's a coupon campaign, more aggressive PPC, dropping the price, whatever it is, figuring out a way to market these out the top of that list so that they are selling more than 20 units a day, if that's your benchmark, right? This is a good product if it's selling over 20 units a day. So those are your slow sellers. They're going to clog up your inventory. They're going to, every single month, be less and less profitable because you're getting monthly storage fees every single month. So your holding costs, if it comes to the point where you have to pull that inventory, you're paying a lot of money in terms of removal fees. Removal fees have gone up, I think, 50% on average from last year. So these are factors that hurt your profitability, that hurt your restock limits, that hurt your inventory performance index score. And so that's something that you want the marketing team to be paying attention to, that should go into their planning. The next level down from that, I don't know why this is all here. The next level down from that is just a minimum, right? Anything that sells less than, let's say, 5 units a day, right? Anything that sells less than 5 units a day. This is let's say this is your liquidation list. So what you want to do with your liquidation list is you want to just get rid of it. Come up with a plan to completely get rid of these products. That will help you with your restock limits. It will help you with your holding costs. It's all within the same vein as the slow seller report. This is all to also increase your profitability. And then lastly, we have the fourth report that would go to your marketing team from your inventory team, and that's the FBA Overstock. This looks at how many days of supply you have on Amazon, right? If you have over, let's say, 90 days of supply, that might be a problem. That will cost you, again, less and less every single month. You're making less and less profit. So the faster you can sell this, the more profitable it's going to be. And also the better your restock limits for your other products. A lot of times you'll see products on the liquidation report and the slow sellers report also on here, because those are the ones that haven't been able to be moved very quickly. But you can sometimes see your best sellers on here as well. And what that can do for you is, if you want to take your bestseller and there's certain keywords that you want to increase your page ranking on, you can take some of that inventory and specifically target those keywords with that excess inventory. So you think of your inventory as, it can either be a liability costing you money in storage fees every single month, or it can be an asset buying you page rank. So that's what the Overstock report is good for. It's also very good for the marketing team to look out for products that are on both the Overstock report and the slow sellers report, because you're trying to get those slow sellers to boost up the ranking. If you can get it to boost up the ranking by using Overstock to target specific keywords to drive them up the page ranking and get more visibility, you can use the Overstock to move those products out of the slow sellers report and into being viable products. Those are all the reports we have. I mean, we have, of course, the ability to track your products. One of the things that was interesting was that when we started building out the inventory software and we started talking to sellers, it wasn't just the ability to forecast that was a big pain point. It was, where is my stuff? I don't know where my stuff is. I don't know when it's supposed to arrive. I personally managed tracked my inventory in my emails. And I had to go through just a series of email threads to figure out when my stuff was supposed to be done and ready. And sometimes I would forget. And then I would notice 2 weeks after the deadline when my stuff was supposed to ship, reach out to my supplier, hey, where's my stuff? Oh, it's ready, and they didn't reach out to me. And then my stuff is late. And so we have the order tracker, which tracks all your POs, lets you know, when is it supposed to arrive? When is it going to be leaving production and actually going to be getting ready to go on a boat? These are all tied to your lead times. So your lead time shows all of the timeline of when things are going to actually arrive. And then when you receive it, you can come in here, you can, report if there were, say, 5 units damaged and, 100 units missing. And so you can receive all of these into your warehouse. If you do have them going to a warehouse, you can also send them via your timeline directly to Amazon FBA check-in. I think I don't know if there are more questions that we have on the tool. I can go into more detail, but I think that's kind of the gist of what SoStocked does and why I'm weirdly enough very passionate about inventory, and passionate about inventory from the perspective of the fact that you should be making and keeping more of your money. And with Amazon's crazy fees, especially recently, inventory management will actually help you to keep more of your money a lot faster than most other things that you might dabble in.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That was good information. Let's go ahead and jump out of the demo, and we'll. I'm sure there's a few bits more of information we want to talk about with you.
Sure.
So I was checking. We actually asked all the questions that were coming in, but if anybody has any more questions, feel free to post those. Also, if you happen to be watching this video on our YouTube channel and it's already past when we were live, please leave a comment and I'll make sure that Chelsea gets that question or get an answer for that question from her regarding SoStock or anything regarding inventory and inventory management. That was very in-depth and really cool. Learned a lot myself. It's been a while since I've sold, almost 4 years now, and I didn't handle the inventory side of the house, but definitely I know some people that could take advantage of SoStocked and some of those features you have to make sure they don't run out of inventory. Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think I've never been a seller. This is no secret, but I would, if I were a seller, would love to have a tool like SoStocked. If I feel like that's going to give, especially with the ETA of shipment and arrival and things like that, will really help with your forecasting for the holidays. I actually was on a call yesterday where the seller was asking, hey, with the upcoming holidays that are in China, that is going to close down production, and then the holidays here in the US, like when should I order my inventory for, Christmas, Hanukkah, et cetera. Mm-hmm. It's like this would be the perfect tool to be able to kind of enter in those closures and those delays and lead times to accurately, forecast that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's something beautiful that you've got built there. I'm amazed at how people can build these incredible dashboards. It's just, I'm so not a tech person, but I love it.
Yeah. And I don't have a software background. I just, I kind of visualize the way that it needs to work. And then of course the developers do all of that. And we just built the foundation. We actually, way back in 2019, we launched mid 2019, built the foundation, got about 25 sellers in. I believe there are about 4 sellers at least who are still with us from that 25. And they just gave us feedback, and we basically ripped the entire forecasting algorithm out within that first 6 months, built it back from scratch based on their feedback, their spreadsheets, their needs. And then from that point, it's just been this growing process of just hundreds of sellers who we've partnered with. I tend to look at them as partners giving us feedback, because I spoke to hundreds of sellers within that first year and a half to understand what, I know what I thought I needed in my business, but then you have other people that are just brilliant minds who, they were like, we'll never build an inventory software because we're not insane. But if you're going to build it, here's what we want. So that's been a big part of our success, is that we work directly with other sellers to be able to put these things together, and then we take credit and look smart.
Nothing wrong with that. So Chelsea, why don't you tell everybody, if they want to learn more about SoStocked, where do they go? Maybe give also just a quick brief of any other features that maybe we missed, since we just kind of did a short demo specifically on Stockouts. And go ahead.
Yeah. So to find SoStocked and find myself, as well as some free tools we have, and a live demo that we do, go to SoStocked.com/connect. And you'll be able to find all of those links there. As far as additional features that we didn't get to touch, one of the things that I really like is the timeline, the inventory timeline. It gives you an entire year's worth of projections, shows you what you're going to need to order at various different points. When do you need to order? When do you need to transfer? What do you have sales events coming up? And that's different from what a lot of tools do out there. They will give you one number and they'll say, this is what you need to order for this time, but they don't give you visibility within the next, several months so that you can do your planning properly. And then people aren't very, a lot of people don't like spreadsheets, and the numbers. So they like to be able to visualize out, how did we come to those numbers? Where did those numbers come from? And so that's what the timeline helps them to do. So that's one feature. And then the other feature that I think is the most recent feature, we launched it a month and a half ago, I think. And that's the advanced seasonality. We've always had a seasonality tool, but the advanced seasonality, it looks at your entire year and it gives an average of your entire year. So it averages out your entire year. And then on a monthly or a biweekly or a weekly basis, it will map out the trends. So if your entire year, this is the baseline of 100%, this week you're 114%, or this week you're, 86%, and it will map out where you are throughout that month, and it will give you the pattern. But then if your trend is, let's say you're trending, 15% up from last year, well, then you'll have not just the pattern, you'll have the pattern from last year, but the trend from this year. So it will boost that up. And then you can free flow change those. So you can drag the line where you can say, okay, well, yeah, it was 114, but I think it's going to be 125. And you can change it to 125. And so it's a very dynamic tool. And then it also allows you to borrow that same data from other products. So if you're doing a launch and you have a product that is similar to the product that you're about to launch, you can borrow the history from that product to build out your launch pattern.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So be sure to reach out to SoStocked.com and /connect. It's up on the screen there for everybody who's watching. And you can get a hold of Chelsea that way. You can find out more information about SoStocked and the different features it has. and incredible software. Definitely deeper than I even knew I could ever go, even on an Excel sheet. So that's great. I'm glad you took all that information and really listened to everybody and put that together in this amazing software. So yeah, feel free to reach out. SoStocked, SoStocked.com, SoStocked.com. And Chelsea, amazing having you on. We thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for showing us what you got, because that was really some good stuff. And I'm sure that people will definitely learn some information from this that they'll be able to take action on and start using. So
awesome.
Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at GETIDA.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.